Welcome back to the Adventure Paradox podcast. I am so excited to have this guest here with us today. We have a mutual friend in common, the incredible Kim McElroy, horse artista extraordinaire, who has been on the show twice now. And she introduced me to the incredible Camron Adibi. I'm going to give you a full introduction in just a moment. But first, Cam, how are you and where in the world are you tuning in from today?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's so good to be on your podcast. I'm calling in from Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay, this is so perfect. I didn't know I was going to ask you this question, but Salem, Massachusetts has been a topic of discussion with my children since we just had Halloween. We were
Oh
talking about
yeah.
witches. I know, we were talking about real witches, and we actually have a relative who my granny used to say was burned at the stake. No one was burned at the stake in the Salem witch trials. Just to be clear, we looked it up on Wikipedia. You got to believe everything out there. But I just love to hear how does that energy of that history trickle in to the place you call home?
Oh, great question. I rent an apartment in Nathaniel Hawthorne's grandfather's home. So this is like New England history, which is this is our oldest United States history for the European side. All respect to previous populations before us. But so Nathaniel Hawthorne lived here as a boy, and famous author, and you're a writer. I claim to be a writer, so it's pretty cool. I landed here, right? But
Kind
yeah,
of some big shoes to fill there too, though.
right, totally. So I love you know if you've been these old towns, New England towns, you just walking so cool because you each when you walk by a house, there's an old house, there's a plaque and says year and who lived there originally. Like
Mm,
1810, the shoemaker lived here. 1820 or 1700, the carpenter or the shipwright. So it's like that quaintness. I still love that New England quaintness.
oh
The
yeah.
Halloween. I hate to say it, I kids aren't gonna like this, but I get out of town because it's too much
Mm,
of a
mm.
it's like Mardi Gras, adults in costumes on a lot of alcohol and a lot of partying and a lot of noise. Oh my God, it's too
Sure,
much. So,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah, quite the scene. Yeah, it's different in our situation because we still have little trick-or-treaters, so we're all in. But
good,
they didn't
good.
know about quote real witches, and so we were getting into like real witch hunts throughout time and all these different things. And speaking of, let's talk about your original medicine. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. I want to give you a formal introduction because I think it's always so interesting where someone is coming from, like literally where you're grounded, where you're doing your work, but also our higher level legacy that we're leaving through this message and through this incredible work that you're doing, which is so potent and so powerful. And I'm so excited to unpack it. All right, ready for the formal introduction, everybody? Here it is. So, Cameron Adibi, who you're already hearing from, is an advocate for horses, experienced horsemen, and instructors, specializing in equine behavior, tuning forks with horses, and connecting humans with the spirit of horses. Cameron is the host of the Centar podcast, which is part of why Kim brought us together, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But first of all, tuning forks. For someone who has never heard of a tuning fork, has no idea what that's about, can you tell us what that's about for humans and then what you're doing with tuning forks for horses?
So this is audio, but for people that are listening, I got a tuning fork right here in my
Look at
hand,
that.
and so these are these are ancient. They're mentioned. This has been around for a long time. They are you might find them more for like tuning a stringed instrument, but they're also therapeutic. And so I have these two alloy tuning forks in my hand, and when I tap them, they send a vibration. So you ready?
Mhm.
Yeah, the mic fixing that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trippy. Trippy through the mic,
So
actually.
yeah, right. I love playing. So this is one of the things I do. But they have a lot of benefits and just kind of backstory. I kind of stumbled into this like most things I do. I so I'm trained as a path therapeutic riding instructor.
Hmm.
went through that. And I started that journey in 2013, and I got certified and was teaching, working at different therapeutic barns. Then I felt like, I needed something more. So I got my master's in education, and then I went and became a public school teacher. So career, like total career shift, and went and was a science engineering teacher. And so I brought the tuning forks into the class, and it was kind of by surprise that all the kids on the spectrum were the ones that really were interested. So I've only made it 14 months as a public school teacher. I like the kids. It was just the format was not my style. So I went off and started my own business, and offering this kind of equine work for kids that are autistic. And so a lot of these stuff we explore, together on the ground with kind of, being curious and what does it mean. So a lot of kids on the spectrum are either um, sound adverse or sound sensitive, and
Mm.
or sound seeking. And so I brought the tuning forks in, after I had that few experiences, and with the kids and with the horses, and that opened this whole other door, that how the horses responded to these. And so I've been really just following this path, so to speak, about how sound and vibration has real impact. And so horses hear much better than we do. Um,
Mhm.
and these I like your love the adventure paradox. There's a lot of paradoxes going on here with sound. First of all, it's not visible, right? And how it's received. So we hear differently than horses. Horses have a much bigger frequency or range of frequency, and hear lower and higher frequencies. But also their ears, right? Their ears can spin 180,
Mhm.
almost 180 degrees, and they can point, they can find that location much quicker than we can. And they hear as a herd. One horse will pick up a sound, and the next horse will respond to it. So it's a very interesting how that and how they communicate through vibration. A lot of horses communications non. I heard you say this in a podcast. Our communication with humans is almost 80% nonverbal, and horses is primarily nonverbal. So there's so much layers here. So the nutshell is that now from that experience, I started offering sound meditations with horses and humans, where we gather, and I have not only tuning forks but crystal bowls, and
Mm.
yeah, and I've had some great horse partners that are really they're really, this took time working with them, but they're really love it, and they're masters at this too.
So cool. I I have two little follow-up questions because I'm getting this visual of like a group of humans coming to work with you and a group of horses, a herd, right? And then you have this magic really connecting the two through sound, through vibration. And for people who might not be watching this, who are just listening, who have never seen a tuning fork before, I always think of it, it looked kind of like a trident, but only with two spears on the top, right? And then one little piece that comes down. And something I was thinking about as you were talking about it is we have the sound, the vibration that happens with the two tuning forks when they touch each other. But then the vibration when you take the bottom and you actually put it like on someone's muscle or shoulder, and it's like a touch vibration that happens through the body when it's actually on you. Does that make sense? And horses are so sensitive with sound and all of their senses, right? You talked about the little satellite dish ears, but I'm curious how you incorporate that touch, or if you do at all, with tuning forks, and also how maybe people have done that historically. Because I'm just so curious about them. They've been around forever. Like, I'm just very curious.
Uh, it's really, there's so much to unpack here. So I, I'm a learner. I'm an educator, but I'm also a constant learner. It seems like you are too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so after, I discovered tuning forks, I did go study with really cool guy, Dr. John Ballou, and it's human tuning, sound healing with tuning forks. And yeah, he's up in upstate New York, and I did workshops with him. And when I told him I worked with horses, he just like lit up because he also works with horses. So he gave me a lot of really good instruction. I also I did like a sound bowl, kind of basic sound bowl workshop. But then I also stumbled in, because this ties into touch. I stumbled because I work with a lot of kids that have visual disabilities, um, and I was teaching kids how to use video and audio equipment who were visually impaired. And it was really a
Mm,
cool project. And so we had to go interview people, and I found this man who is a um, Chinese massage therapist, and he's blind. And when the kids interviewed him and he started telling his story. I was like, I need to talk to you. He's like one of my best mentors right now, and I see him weekly. And he is trained in Tuina massage. Tuina is a Chinese medical massage, which is like acupuncture. So you have your sports massage, which is one type of massage. Tuina is a lot different, and it's more
mm,
about working with the vital energy. And so he trains me how to work with horses using this technique. So I'm using the tuning forks and Tuina massage. I can never call myself, because that's a lot of training to become actually a Tuina massage therapist. But I'm using the principles, and the horses. One of the things that he taught me really right off the gate: keep it simple. Don't use your friggin' mind. The mind always like wants to get. I want to know this answer. I want to know this. It gets lost. It doesn't really help in that respect. And then the other thing is, listen to the horse. They will tell you,
mm,
and they always do. So I'm just always tracking. And so so a basic session. So I do two offerings. One is just with the horse, and the other one is with this group meditation, sound meditation with humans and horses. But with the horse, it's first I start with the assessment, just the introduction. Who is this crazy guy coming up to me? Yeah, be respectful, right? And
mm.
let them know I'm here, trying to learn from this horse, not me, you know, placing my will on top of this horse, and this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's very, it's a different. It's just my mentors. I got a few. Is Marianne Simons, who's the author of A Horse by Nature, and
Mm,
using that horse centric kind of approach, not human. There's a lot of great like therapeutic stuff out there. I love tech. I'm a techie. The PEMF, all this really, the hydrotherapy, all this cool stuff. But can you first address it from the horse perspective? And that's, it's just
mm.
a shift, just a little shift, gets you out of your thinking and changes it. So I always approach it from their perspective, and then so I have to slow way down, and I have introduce it in increments, let them feel comfortable about it, and then voila, then all of a sudden I can really they really let me in and show me what they need to show me. So
Ah,
yeah, it's really you got to be humble if
it's,
you work with horses. Period.
oh yeah,
You
for
know it. You
sure.
know it. And if you think you know it all, good luck.
For
Seriously,
sure.
good luck to you.
It's really fun to hear you talk about, how you introduce yourself to the horse and then how you're working together. And I think what it's making me think about is podcasting, like as a metaphor. And something I've been working on lately is how do people who work with horses podcast differently? And I think one of the things that's very different is this deeper listening. Like, what's the question beneath the question? Like, what's the word beyond the words, right? What's sort of on this whole other level that I feel like when we're connecting with the horse and really learning to speak together, not to, as you said, impose upon them, right? But to really converse and say, oh, okay, I'd like to step in closer. Is this okay? Oh, no, I'll wait. You can come to me, turning with the body language. The eyes, that predator can be a lot, right? And so something I was thinking about is like you have this group of humans, and I would love to hear more about their feedback when they receive your medicine and walk through this listening experience. Because again, it's exchange of energy. And sometimes it's not even the words they say, it's that you watch them as a group leave, like, come in, especially, and I don't want to generalize an area, but like, East Coast could be a little tighter, And so you might be working with an energy that really needs to just feel and hear and be seen without judgment.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. There's no, I've learned to say that because I've moved so many, I've lived out in Colorado for a lot of years. So yeah, there's no perfect. I've given up on that. So everybody has every region has their pluses and minuses, but yes, this is a little bit of a leap, no question
Mhm.
for a lot of people. And a lot of people want to know the science too when they come to see me. And I'm like, that's a great question. Let's put that on hold for a second. But there is, the basic principle. This is from Dr. John Bailu. He's so talented, book author. He developed a company called Biosonics. I use his tuning forks. I'll leave this information, but and all life is vibrating. And then the second one is that in the universal energy field, when there's a it's a disruption, dis-ease, there is a possible blockage, right? There's something in, and that's the whole tween on massage, by the way, like working that blockage. Oh, my knee hurts, but is it your shoulder, that's holding the
Mhm.
pain, you don't know because you're so focused on your knee. My knees, it's a problem, that's where, again, God bless Western medicine. I love Western medicine. I use it. But that's where let's examine your knee. Oh, let's give you knee surgery, instead of looking at what's going on globally. And so that's, those are the first approach. And then the second one is, I don't want, again, I've worked at a lot of different barns. I've put my dues in. I've worked at dressage barns and working barns, and even a Lusitano breeding farm. You got to know horses, and you don't just throw them into this. And so I always kind of, so I had the sound meditation I was working with. I had the best faculty members. These were my star faculty members. This older gelding and these three minis, and without going into that has passed. That's not working. That's not current right now where I am. But I'll tell you where I'm going. But in a second, because I got exciting news. But that so then I first I bring in I've done it both indoor and outdoor. But I bring the horses in and I let them know, as soon as they see the crystal bulls, they're like, oh yeah, Cam's up to this now. I mean, they're not. We know they're intelligent. They're sensitive, they're intelligent, and they have emotions. And that's been proven scientifically. They have just as many emotions as we do. There's a great study of almost that showed that horses have almost seven. They were documented at least 17 emotions. We know horses grieve. This has all been
Mhm.
shown and proven. So can we respect that? And then I bring in the people and I keep it, 4 to 5. And then, usually I do it different each time because this is the playfulness, and I want to, always with safety, but in mind. But I want, what's being, just like you started this podcast, what's being called right now, and I have to always go to the teachers and the leaders are the horses for me. So I'm watching them anyway. So like we sit down and I play the bowls or use the tuning forks, and then we might get up and do a walking meditation, and but we allow the horses, so they have choice. Again, you said it. People would call me crazy. Like, you're going to leave a horse free reign and around people? Yeah,
Mhm.
I am,
Mhm.
and I do,
Mhm. Mhm.
and because I trust them. I know who they are, and
Yeah.
they're my partners. And so anyway, again, I wouldn't do this with any horse. These are horses I've worked with. But anyway, so just a quick example. I had my friends 90-year-old father, I think he's 93 now, come to one of these, and he was so terrified. A lot of people are terrified of horses, so I respect that too. And I'm like, it's
Yeah.
okay. You're allowed to feel that. I don't disacknowledge it. Just, I think a lot of people in the horse world have that fear and they won't admit it.
Hmm.
But so this guy, 93, just he's a widow, just lost his wife just a few months earlier. They've been
Mm.
they were teenage sweethearts, so that's long life together. And so he was, grieving, obviously, and he wouldn't come into the circle. So he refused, and he sat right at this is the indoor arena. He sat right at the edge of the door, right with his back against the door, so he could get out and leave quickly. And the older gelding, 16 hand older gelding, and my star mini went right over to him, and they put their head right over on him. They knew, they know, they pick up those energies. They don't even have to, so this is back to the verbal part where you don't have to say it. They know it. They'll pick it up. And they went
Mm.
right over there. I got photos, and they sat with him, and he wasn't afraid, and he got, what he took away from it, I don't know. But,
Hmm.
you know, so you allow that space, then there's more possibilities, again, but I keep it safe, but there's, I'm giving these horses a lot more choices. That makes
So
sense.
good. Yeah, it's this week I had a newborn come on property and my pony, I was actually sick, so I wasn't outside witnessing this, but my pony got to meet the newborn in its, carrier. And it was really cool to just see his eyes like, oh, you've been on the planet less than 30 days, taking a sniff of the newborn. And I feel like, on both ends of life, like horses are good in all seasons for all reasons. We just need to allow for the magic to happen. And 100 years ago, this magic happened all the time because we partnered with them daily. In fact, for the last 5 or 6 thousand years, we have been partnering with horses daily. And then when we took them out of the equation, and there were some really important reasons that needed to stop, horses being treated like living machines, and they are not. But now I feel like humans are treating themselves like machines. We have to, that workhorse mentality, which actually historically 9 to 5 came from how long a draft horse could work before they would have injuries, illness, or death, was about 8 hours. So like we have this programming of how we think things should go in these systems, and we're missing the magic of the natural field, which is that we're actually not in control and we don't know what's going to happen unless we allow ourselves to be fully present. And we need to bring every emotion. Fear, for example, I'm right there with you. And I think a lot of people, they have a fear of the unknown because they've never been close to a horse. So they've never known, say, a good horse. They've just seen the pictures and, the video reels. And that is, the bucking bronco at the rodeo. Like that is really missing the grand scheme of all. It's like saying all sports are just football. It's like there's so much more that we haven't even, you know, we're at the tip of the iceberg, I feel like, on this work, this like awakening that horses are inviting us back to at this point in time. And I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about that. Like, what do you see happening in 2025, almost 26? Like, what are you seeing these shifts in sort of the cosmic plane with the work that you're doing and what you think horses are doing right now?
I was just nodding my head the whole time. I'm with you 100%. Yeah, this is the fun part, right? We're entering something completely different. All kind of systems are kind of being challenged, financial, economic, education, everything's kind of like stressed, right. I don't think that's not a secret to anyone right now. So food systems, everything's like really like what's going to happen. So that, I think why the horses are coming into more and more visibility right now in the social media feeds, everything going on, they are in our DNA.
Mhm.
And I've talked to a lot of people about this. So their ancestors are older than our ancestors. They've been with the human experience all the way from the beginning. They've seen us do everything stupid we've tried, and we're currently, stuck in this for primarily, not everyone, but we're stuck in this forced domination. Like we are superior, and that has
Mhm.
led to a lot of problems. Um, so this horse is, and you hear this, this horse is dumb. They can't think for themselves. So it is a kind of a slave model. I hate to say it. It's like that's the way horses are treated. This horse can't be with this other horse. They separate them. They bring, they make all these decisions for the human. And I've seen it over and over again. I've got myself in trouble, by the way. I got to learn, I'm not going to change. Surrender. I can't change the world, but I can do what I can do. Right. That's so, but anyway, so I've asked, so my podcast you've helped me with, by the way, the Centar podcast on Apple and Spotify, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it's opening all sorts of doors. And I've asked my question for everyone: what's the future?
Mhm.
What's the future of
Mhm.
these animals for in terms of the human experience?
Mhm.
And because we're that recreational models, shows are getting. I love to ride, by the way. I'm one of those guys that I'll ride until I can't. And I saw
Mhm.
I got your book, by the way. So I did see you, you had a good fall early on. I've had, 2 hospital visits and I still want to ride, got another
Yep.
one of those, can't give it up. But I approach the horse so much differently now, in terms of with those accidents. Not that I'm invincible, but, there's a different relationship I have now. But, and, the competitions are getting, less and less. New England, it's, less and less every day. It's an older population, older equestrian population, and the horses are old too.
Mm.
So there's not like, like it's not like I would say it's, it's kind of, at least it's becoming more centralized in certain areas. But so that whole recreational, what's next? And so we were seeing, so I got trained as a path therapeutic riding instructor. I'm no longer doing that, but
Mhm.
so when you think about equine therapy, it's this a big umbrella. Therapeutic riding is just like this teeny little sliver in that umbrella. And so there's so many things and you're seeing them now. And that's one of the reasons for the podcast, the Centar. There's so many things going on, and a lot of this unmounted kind of equine learning, which is what I've been focusing on. But and building the relationship and learning, like, how does the horse communicate and what's really going on, and what can we learn when it's like change, or typical, you know this one, right? When you're first, going learning, a student, they say go catch that horse.
Mm.
That's typical language still today. Go catch that horse. And like, what if you change that a little bit? What if you how can I go meet that horse and see if that horse actually wants to meet me?
Mm.
So you got to be ready for some time, right? Because some horses are like, I'm out of here, get away from me. I've had enough of
Mm.
you
Mm.
people in my life, so you get that curiosity, and then that changes everything. So maybe you're not going to ride that day. You have to like let go of these things. So this is the change. Like, get out of this forced domination that I'm going to be superior. This horse is going to fall. And liberty training too, by the way, is a lot of force, natural horsemanship, it's like natural food. What is that? So it's like there's a
Mhm.
lot, no, there's a lot of great, and I have a lot of great friends that are really spectacular. There's a lot of great things going on there, but start challenging these kind of this language we use.
Mm.
Go
Mm.
catch the horse.
Totally.
Let's try it, and let's try to shift that again back to that horse centric that Marianne Simons talks about. Change that perspective to the horse centric perspective. Slow yourself down. Try to find another way that you're not, that's more of a way for an imitation. And again, this is not for everyone. This is not for every horse. There are a lot of horses that you're not gonna try this on, but there's a way, another way to do things. And so
For sure.
this is
Wow.
thanks.
It's so beautiful. Like major mic drops right there, Cam. So I think this is the work right now. Like this is the way. And I think so much of it is we are finally at a place where we're invited to really see ourselves in this dynamic and in this relationship and who we were to horses and who horses were to us. We're at a place where that could change and is changing, and more people are being invited into this like sacred space of really doing the work. And so when we do our own work, we can show up. And I love just changing the language. Like instead of catching, I think you said meeting, how am I going to meet this horse? And I like to think about it like, how do you introduce yourself today? Something recently I watched my daughter go out into the pasture with the pony and she walked in like swinging her rope. I was like, of course, he was like, I'm going to show you my butt. Like I am not interested in you coming in like that 10-year-old. And I just thought, wow, what a beautiful teachable moment. And so the first thing I teach is reading a horse's energy. Like that is the first thing. Before you approach, you read the horse's energy. Where's this horse at today? You know what I mean? Before you come in, because you've got your agenda, right? And I'd love to hear these incredible teachers you've been talking about, your podcast, the Centar podcast, which we worked on a little bit this year. And I'd love to hear how it's going, like how podcasting has transformed you as you've been reaching out to these teachers, lifelong learner, and hearing from them, like what are they doing? Who are some of your superstars that you've interviewed? Have you interviewed your Twina practitioner? Have you interviewed, you talked about Mary Simon, John Bailu, I think I said that right. Like
Yeah. Oh,
who's
John,
on your
I got to interview him. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious, what's the experience of podcasting been like under this umbrella of all of these shifts and transformation? How has it transformed you?
Yes, thank you. It has opened so many doors. It's taught me. It's been a vehicle to like, so I'm in New England. I've been working at different barns here in New England. And guess what? There's a big world out there. And
Mm,
so I think that's one of the things like equestrians are so, I mean, there's so many so gifted ones, but they get so trapped in their silos. I've
mm,
seen that over and over again. So it's like, I have this like, I want to learn. There's not enough time to learn everything I learn. So it's been like the saving grace to have the podcast because like just recently, so I got to interview Julie Robbins, who does Liberty work down in Aiken. So here's the big news. I'm going to move down to Aiken, South Carolina. And
wow.
so, yeah, no, it's like, this is like, and that's because of the podcast. The
Yeah.
podcast, got me down there. And then I went Julie up to Lexington, Kentucky for my first time ever. That's horse country.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
these places are. And I got to do a show, or one of my episodes is about the thoroughbred makeover in Lexington,
Mm,
Kentucky. So I just took my
mm.
mic around and started interviewing everybody, and I placed like This American Life on NPR. I kind of like try to make a piece like that, like how to tie
Awesome.
in a story. Yeah, it was like the first time I ever tried that, and it was super.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, again, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. I just do it. And so I make a lot of mistakes. You're an entrepreneur. I claim to be one, and you better be ready. Be ready to make mistakes. It's like that's life. That's
Mm.
like what's Essence like said. Those are like when he was asked, "You failed." No, I have 10,000 more successes now. Because each of those failures are another gateway to success. So how do we look at like good and bad? I heard you talk about that too in one of your shows. You know, it's just a judgment. What's good and bad.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so I've been stumbling along. I'm probably going to need to hire you more for more help, but it's opened these doors, and so I'm moving down to Aiken. I'm going to shift my business and make these offerings more available down there.
Amazing. I'm so excited to hear that it was the podcast that was like the seed to lead to the person that inspired you. And then the thoroughbred transformation, is that what you called it? Makeover?
Thoroughbred makeover, which is they copied the Mustang makeover. So, but it was like it
Totally.
was a
So
huge
good.
like 5 day event. I mean, big show, big time money. Big three people from all over the country
Yeah. Yeah. I
bringing the
feel like
retired.
I remember we were in Lexington this summer and at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Kentucky Horse Park for
Yeah, that's
Briar
where
Fest.
that's where we were.
Oh,
That's my
and
first visit.
isn't it amazing? I my whole life have been wanting to go, and I didn't go for the first time until I think I was 41, or 42. Anyway, I remember arriving in the airport and seeing horses everywhere. And my daughters and I said, let's see how many images or signs of horses we see before we even leave the airport. And so there were, I mean, a lot of them are like Rolex photos of like a horse jumping, all these ads and things. But I think we counted 121 before even leaving the airport
Wow.
and just recognizing horse culture is alive and well here. And there are so many different ways to look at it. And yes, each one can kind of get into their silos. I think that's really interesting thing you said there. Um, excuse me, but I love that the podcast is really, it's what gets you talking and getting you meeting and sharing, maybe most importantly, with an audience, because the whole point of this is to help others to think and then take a step and really hear or feel something that moves them to wherever it is they're meant to go next. And so, you've got my number if you want some more support on podcasting, but my
You
passion is
name it. You
really
got it. Yeah.
it's helping people find their voice. And sometimes we don't know what it is until we really start talking about it and like following the next breadcrumb to the next guest to the next conversation to look at you, you're moving now. Like, of course
Mhm.
you are. I love that. And congratulations on your move and all this awesome work you're doing. I know people are going to want to find you. How do they find you? We'll put it all in the show notes. But
Yeah.
what's the best way for folks to follow you, especially since you're moving on this journey right now?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's been great. It's a journey, not to destination, as you know. But so this is gonna be a big move for me. But I'm excited. So you can find me on the Centar podcast. That's on Apple and Spotify. You can also find me on Substack, the Centar by Camron Adibi, and that's no E, Camron and Adibi. And then also you can email me at Camron Adibi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll put this all in here. Did we miss anything? Do you have a final takeaway, something on your heart that you want to leave our audience with? This has been such a pleasure, Cam.
Likewise, yeah, I'm super excited to talk with you and learn more about you, all your gifts. But I love the paradox. This is like it's totally like what is a paradox? It's something that doesn't quite match up. Like it doesn't you can't quite intellectualize it. There's something deeper going on, and so with horses, they're hearing everything. They
Mm,
are listening to everything, and they also are they have a much bigger sound experience than we do. And so,
mm,
can you get curious about that, and how can you make it more enriching for them? I actually I use this device that plays and oh, by the way, there's a lot of studies on this, but classical music, for example, not necessarily the best thing for a horse.
mm.
They like more rhythmic, short melodies in general. But get curious. Ask your horse, what music do you like? And it's going to be much different than what you think.
I love that. Oh, I love that so much. And just also the reminder that it's not always what we think. Like we go out with the framework of it's going to be this, we're framing it. And then we're not open to what it is, like where it might go, what they might really like. And maybe it's different today, more country, and tomorrow more pop, who knows?
Yep,
That we grow
exactly.
and change and evolve, just like the seasons and the years of our lives. And thank you so much for this conversation. It has been an absolute gift. I'm so grateful. And listeners, if you loved this, please subscribe, follow along, share it with a friend. And yeah, we'll be following you down the road, Cam, to see what you're up to next. And thank you for sharing your gifts with us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Hats off to you, sir, and your work. Appreciate you.